In this episode of the Motor City Hypnotist podcast, we're talking about a crisis. No, not a midlife crisis, which is probably the most common term for a crisis you've heard.
Yeah.
We're talking today about a quarter life crisis.
Oh,
If that interests you, or if you're wondering,
I
quarter
was-
life crisis.
I was a quarter.
What is that?
Yeah, I was 25 at one point in time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real thing, and we're going to be talking about that. And just to welcome everybody, I'm back. We had a little bit of sabbatical. I had some changes in the office, and we were hiring people, and other people were leaving, and there's a lot going on in the business.
You've been busy.
I've been busy. So I'm back, baby, in the words of George Costanza.
Nice.
Hang in there, folks. We'll be right back.
This sounds like something for the authorities in Detroit.
Well, joke's on you. I'm living to 102 and then dying, like the city of Detroit.
Guys like this antique over here out of Detroit.
Spawned in the hellfires of Motown.
Take him to Detroit.
No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please! Anything but that! No!
Stationed in Drambuie. It's worse than Detroit.
We did not have, as a unit, the confidence that we felt like we needed to beat Detroit.
Let's go to Detroit.
Now you're talking, brother.
I don't think so. He plays for Detroit now.
Do they have many farms in Detroit?
Detroit. It's in Michigan.
I go to school. I know where Detroit is.
Get ready for the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright, originating from the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. He has hypnotized thousands of people from all over the United States. David R. Wright has been featured on news outlets all across the country and is the clinical director of an outpatient mental health and hypnosis clinic located just south of Detroit, where he helps people daily using the power of hypnosis. Welcome, the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright.
What is going on, my friends? This is David Wright, the Motor City Hypnotist.
Take them to Detroit.
We're back with another episode of the Motor City Hypnotist podcast.
No, not Detroit.
Not Detroit. Anywhere but anything but that. Hope you liked the little addition to the intro we just played.
I like that.
Just kind of messing around with stuff. I would hear things during movies, and I'm like, oh, they mentioned Detroit. And then I just kind of keep a mental note of that.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
You know, so
That's
I'm
a
sure
lot.
there's a ton of them out there.
That's a lot of mental notes. let me
Yeah.
just say.
I mean, I got as many as I could think of, but
Sure.
I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure there are a lot more.
Right.
So we're here in the podcast, Your Voice, Southfield Studios,
Welcome
the
back.
Palatial Studios.
Welcome back.
We're back doing a podcast, having a drink, just spending some time with you folks, and hopefully giving you some information that's going to be beneficial.
You said,
And-
but you said quarter life crisis.
quarter life crisis,
All
and we're going to get into that as soon as I tell you where you can find me.
Sure.
First of all, my website is motorcityhypnotist.com. And just as a heads up, folks, if this episode should drop before this event this weekend, but I will be at the Uncommon Festival in Amherstburg, Ontario on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday this weekend.
Are you flying or driving?
Driving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a bit of a drive?
No, it's like 45 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. Cross the bridge into Windsor. It's like half hour south.
That's why I was
Yeah.
trying to, because we're like Canada. Oh my God,
Yeah,
where?
yeah,
'Cause
well,
Canada's
yeah,
pretty
well,
big.
Sure, yeah. Luckily, it's right over in Windsor,
Yes,
or
it is.
in Amherstburg, technically. So yeah, I'll be at the Uncommon Festival. If you don't know what the Uncommon Festival is, and I've never heard of it, but when they booked me for this, I'm like, oh, it's a steampunk theme festival.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it does sound like fun. A lot of people dressing up and having fun. And
So when they pull a stopwatch out of their pocket,
I actually have one.
do you?
I'm going to use it. Yes.
Nice.
I'm using the stopwatch for my induction for these shows.
Good. A lot of steampunkers.
Yeah,
they've got a
they like the
stop on it.
pocket watch.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
See?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're free this weekend, I have one show Friday at 7, 2 shows on Saturday at 3 p.m. and 7 p.m., and one show on Sunday at 3 p.m.
Wow, busy weekend.
So come on out, see 1 or 4 shows. Come out and join me. Again, it's not far. It's just over the, if you're in Detroit or in Michigan area, it's just over the border in, 30 minutes, you're there.
Sweet.
So come out and see me at the Uncommon Festival. My social media, Facebook and YouTube, are both Motor City Hypnotist, and my Snapchat and Instagram are Motor City Hypno, HYPNO.
Excellent.
And as we do every episode we've ever done, You get a free hypnosis guide just for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Just text the word hypnosis to 313-800-8510. You'll receive a text message briefly, probably a couple minutes for the system to kind of catch it and send it back. The big thing is it's going to ask you on there to leave a Google review. And typically I use that in the, afterwards for a show. But this is a show too, the podcast. So you can review the podcast as well. So however it comes, you can hit the Google review. It'll go to my Motor City Hypnotist Google business site, and you can leave a review there. I would really appreciate that.
Awesome. Do it.
And the big thing, wherever you're listening, whatever platform you're on, please subscribe and leave a review. That's always the most helpful thing, because the more reviews we have, the more people we get to listen, and we just kind of build organically.
Right.
Which is fantastic. All righty. It is time. We haven't done this in a while, Matt.
Yeah.
That's how winning is done.
All right.
All righty. So this should be no surprise, Matt. We had some sad news last week.
Yes, we did.
James Earl Jones passed away.
Yes, he did.
James Earl Jones, one of the iconic actors of our time.
He's been in so many movies.
I'm looking at his bio, and it's just so many. And when I think of him, of course, I think of Darth Vader. That's the most common, thing that people may know him from. One of my favorites with him was Field of Dreams.
Correct.
That's just his whole
come, Ray
monologue.
Oh yes,
is just some of the best. How do I put it? The best voice ever put to a monologue.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
Goosebumps.
He was acting in movies as early as 1964.
I believe that.
Dr. Strangelove.
Yeah,
he was in that.
Yeah.
He's in Great White Hope.
Yep. Boxing movie. Yep.
He voiced various characters on The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Mufasa.
Ooh.
Was the other one.
Say it again.
And then he's done tons of theater work. He's done Mice and Men, Othello on Golden Pond, Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, You Can't Take It With You. Those are all stage or theater things for James Earl Jones.
I saw a clip when he was playing a general military type, and they asked a recruit how worms procreate or how they have sex. And the recruit was like, they don't have sex. They're asexual. They just create themselves. Right. He's like, well, if it's sex, then how do you know that? He said, your wife told me. And the look on James Earl Jones's face, he looks over at someone else. I can't remember the name of the movie, but it was so funny.
Okay.
It's just he got put in his place, and he just played it amazingly.
He did I don't know if you remember these, like 13, 14. So it's been about 10 years. He did a bunch of Sprint commercials with Malcolm McDowell.
Did he?
I don't remember those.
Neither do I.
But I'm just looking on his bio here.
Huh.
No.
I mean, again, he's got so many. It's impossible to go through them.
No, yeah, his repertoire is just huge. What he's done, his portfolio was amazing.
So here's some TV series that I bet you didn't know he was on, because I didn't know some of these.
Okay.
2.5 Men.
He cameoed, yeah.
Okay. Big Bang Theory.
Absolutely.
Yep, I remember that one.
He was he actually ding dong ditched.
Yes, I remember that
episode
one, yes.
of Big Bang Theory. Yeah.
House MD.
Yep. House. Yep.
New Adventures of Superman
with
Lois and Clark. New Adventures of Superman.
Yeah.
Frasier. I don't remember him on Frasier. And Law and Order.
Really? I didn't know. I did not know that he did Law and Order.
Yeah.
Or that he did the one before that.
And again, one of his biggest recognizable things.
What's it?
The voice of CNN. This is CNN.
Yes. Yeah. That
And for any of you Michigan Wolverine fans out there,
yes,
he is the whole intro, the beginning of the Michigan games.
Right, because he's a U of M alum.
Yeah,
yes.
right. Yeah.
Correct.
So, it's sad, but again, what a fantastic actor, and
definitely a national treasure.
Yeah, absolutely. So
thank you for that.
James Earl Jones, definitely winner of the week for sure.
Yeah.
How winning is done.
Yes, it is.
So, back to it.
So he did on I think it was Jimmy Kimmel or one of the late night shows. He did a top 10 things that James Earl Jones says.
I remember that.
That makes it even cooler.
Yes.
Yes. So funny.
That was great.
Oh, man.
So we're talking today not about a midlife crisis, because I'd probably I'm way past midlife, but whatever. But we've all heard of a midlife crisis. People have this, they hit this wall in their 40s and, maybe in their young 50s of, what am I doing? What is, is this really what my life is? Is this all there is? It's kind of that moment of self-reflection where you think, am I really happy? And again, the whole kind of, the whole kind of, cliche things are, I buy a sports car,
right? But at the age of 25, you may just be figuring out what you want to do with your life. You may have started to do something with your life, but then it didn't go the way you wanted it to. So the experience that you have lifetime wise at that age, I can understand the crisis, but it's really how you refocus yourself
right
at that age. And I think there might be a lot of folks that don't know how to do that. I don't know what the resources are to them.
Well, and a lot of times, here's where it kind of starts in childhood. And this is not intentional by parents by any means, but those of you who have kids, or even if you don't, as parents, when your kids are small, when they're growing up, you talk about, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? Once they get past they want to be a fire truck rider or a garbage man, I
want to be the
things that
president.
appeal. But as kids grow, parents a lot of times will be like, you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be an engineer. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But as the study points out, these suggestions, when a young child kind of takes these suggestions in, they feel like that's what they have to do. They feel like they're being pushed in that direction.
Sure.
And maybe some parents do push. In fact, there are a lot of, and this is not unheard of, but even a lot of cultures, the parents dictate what your career is. They say, this is what you're going to do for a living.
So at some points, I do feel that I wish my parents would have pushed me a little harder, because I didn't find out what I wanted to do until I was 25. Right.
Well, I went to college not having any idea what I was doing.
Right.
I mean, it was just, and that in and of itself, and we're going to get to the specifics of that because I'm going to come back to that point. But a lot of times is because with kids, especially when they grow up into their teenage years, okay, yes, they have high school, they have a structure, they have their activities that they're involved in. But then once you get to college, it's kind of like you're kind of on your own at that point in most instances. And it's this weird thing, because as a kid, you feel like when I'm an adult, I'll be free.
Right.
I can be free to not have to listen to my parents. I can be free to stay up all night if I want. I can be free to drink if I want. So as adolescents, you have this ongoing assumption that once I become adult, I'm free. When in fact, you have so much more responsibilities than you did as a kid or a teenager.
Right. And that's what
parents... and this is the expectation, because we're taught these expectations. If you do A, B, and C, you're going to be successful. You're going to be happy.
Yeah.
But a lot of kids in their late teens and early 20s are having these existential crises that I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if this is what I want to do. I don't even know if I like college. I don't know if I like this job that I'm working right now. And what happens is they've lost the ability to take risks.
Got it.
And that can be a scary thing. But when you're at that age, you're afraid of making a mistake. So you just go with the status quo. You go with what's laid out before you, because that's the easiest, even if it's not something you really want to do. And that can cause this internal strife and conflict with young people.
Right.
So there was a study done this year. It was a scientific study. It wasn't like a phone poll or something like that.
Okay.
And I have the link to the study in the show notes. But this study coined this term, quarter life crisis. So if you look at the study and look at the research they did, these quarter life crises are one of the most common experiences of young people. And this was also verified by a study done by LinkedIn. that found that 75% of people go through a quarter life crisis. And these people in the midst of these crises is that they don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to process these things. You know, if they follow the script, go to college, get a job, find love, buy a house, get a mortgage. And when you do all these things, you'll achieve happiness.
Really?
But the process to get to those things is so overwhelming for young people.
Lack of direction, lack of resources,
maybe lack of resources, lack of confidence, lack of again,
structure.
I think the big thing is the aversion of taking risks, the aversion of, and here's the other thing that they point out in the study is that people are afraid to make a mistake. So rather than trying something and failing, you just do the status quo.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, and the status quo is where you find yourself just in this cycle of unhappiness and unfulfillment and lack of fulfillment. But see, kids trust their parents and older generations because they think, oh, these people have existed in the world for 25 years longer than I have.
Sure.
They must know what's going on. And a lot of times the information you're getting is not accurate because, again, you can lay out all these steps, but I'll give you, and again, I'll say this, the steps that I just mentioned, go to college, get a job, find love, buy a house, get a mortgage. That's not the path for everyone. In fact, that might not be the path for a majority of people.
And, you know, and the way the world is now, Dave, I actually saw a statistic where it said to have the same lifestyle that your parents did in 1992, they had a household income of $80,000. And for you to have that same lifestyle in today's day and age, you have to make $212,000 a year. Right? That's staggering. And that is adding to this stress because of where we are.
Absolutely.
You know, economically. It blew my mind to read that statistic. And I was like, wow, okay, well, we got to get back to work.
So this crisis is a real problem for young people to kind of navigate. And again, this is one of the first studies that I have seen that have kind of pointed this out and given a name to it.
Sure.
So if I were to able to go back in time, and I know this is hypothetical, but I use hypotheticals a lot with my clients.
Okay.
If I were to go back in time and think about when I was 16 or 15 even, would I have taken a different route in my life? And I think when you consider that question, it's like, I like where I'm at now, but I could have expedited that process, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's I'm going to reference to somebody, a YouTuber. It's Healthy Gamer GG. It's one of the channels that I follow. This guy's a psychiatrist.
Okay.
He does mental health, things, and he addressed this study, and that's where I got this idea from.
Okay.
But he gives his own real life example, and I can probably share this because it's on his YouTube channel, and I would encourage you to look that up, and I'll leave the link for that channel.
Yeah,
too.
Please do.
So again, long story short, this guy grew up in an Indian family. His parents told him, "You're going to be a doctor." Well, technically, there's a little more to that. It was him and his brother, and they said, "Well, one of you is going to be a doctor, and one of you is going to be an attorney." And his brother was older, so he picked attorney. So, So the younger guy, Dr. K, who does the YouTube videos, he went to medical. He said, "Oh, I guess I'm going to be the doctor. I go to medical school." But when he got there, he thought, "Is this what I want to do? Is this really?" He just became so overwhelmed that he just started playing video games all night long. Didn't go to class, flunked out of school, flunked out of college.
Yeah.
Because he was just so overwhelmed by the expectations on something he wasn't sure he wanted to do. But here's the thing. Without the crisis, he would not have had change.
Okay.
Now think about that for a minute.
I am following.
So if you can navigate a crisis like that, you are going to be stronger at the end. Now, nobody likes to say, "Oh yeah, I want to be miserable," or "I'm not going to, or I'm going to be unhappy for a long time just so I can be okay."
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
So how old was he when he made this realization for change?
Probably in his 19, 20, 21.
when he was 19,
Yeah.
19 years old,
Yeah.
20, 21 years old.
Just, just starting school.
Good.
And
you know, because he found out earlier on that it wasn't for him.
Right.
Where a lot of kids will try to live up to that expectation to the point of, okay, I'm in my senior year and I am super unhappy.
Yep.
And then they put all this work and effort into something they really don't want to do, but just to appease
the
expectation, the parents or whoever instilled it in them.
Or it could be self-expectation too.
Okay,
because,
that's fair.
Because you've been told this is your path, and then that you kind of internalize that. And then if it's not working towards that, you think in some way you're failing. And then that just kind of compounds this self-defeating behavior that, oh, I can't do this, or I don't want to do this.
Right.
And here's the thing, you can go to, and I'm not, you guys know this, I'm a therapist, so I'm not bashing therapists.
No.
But a 19-year-old that's going through a crisis, he can go to a therapist, and the therapist is going to say, okay, here are the solutions. Do this, 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 and this. But here's the problem. A list of things to do doesn't help everyone.
Okay.
Everyone's individual. So you can't have a cookie cutter approach to how to deal and get through this.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be very personalized. Like, for example, therapists will say, well, you need to get out and meet people and hang out and build relationships and find out what your interests are.
Mm-hmm. I have a small to-do list.
Do you? Well, let me hear a couple of those, Matt.
You want to hear
on a to-do list? Yeah.
No, just to keep your things social.
Well,
and
sure,
keep
absolutely.
yourself
Just
relevant.
keep us fun.
So there's 10 of these, and I'll share them over this
over the course of the episodes
of this episode and next episode.
Yeah, nice.
So one thing that you can do to make yourself sociable.
Yep.
Make vanilla pudding, put it in a mayo jar, and eat that in public. That'll give people.
Oh, good for you.
That'll make people turn their heads.
That would be interesting. You're right.
If you're having a crisis, try to do a couple.
Just
of
like
these.
sit in the back of a room and
like this in the background. What the fuck is it with you?
Or the other thing that you can do is hire 2 private investigators, then get them to follow each other. Just
you have a brain like a chicken.
Just to keep things relevant and whatever. But yeah, just create a to-do list to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that the frustration with a lot of these young people is that they try these things, they're told to do these things, and nothing works. They're still directionless. They're still depressed and anxious and angry, and they just don't know where to go or what to do.
Sure.
And really, and I'm going to say, when I found this study and also watched Dr. K's YouTube channel, that there's been an explosion of research on young people. And here's where a lot of external factors come into play, because we're in I don't want to say it's an unusual situation, but that's the only generation that has had to deal with a global pandemic when they were in their formative years in high school.
Yep.
They're the only ones who have learned that it's okay to stay home and do everything online.
Mm-hmm. And formative years, meaning sophomore and junior year of high school.
Right. Yeah. Or even senior year. If you miss activities in your senior year and you get thrown out, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to apply things that are specific to the person and their personality and their needs. So let's start with a goal from the study.
Okay.
So there are internal structures that everybody has, like your values, your goals, your inherent beliefs,
your morals.
Your morals. And the basic problem here is that things don't fit together well. As somebody who's in their late teens or early 20s, it's almost like nothing is easy. Nothing comes together. Nothing seems like it's the way it's supposed to be. And if you look at the research, is that when we're teenagers, again, we don't have the freedom. We're locked into a structure. High school is a structure. Home is a structure. Chores, bedtimes, homework. It's locked in. What happens with a lot of young people is once they get away from that structure, they self-implode, because now there's nobody saying you need to be in bed at 11, and then you stay up all night and play video games till 6 a.m.
Sure.
When you have class at 7. I mean, these kind of things are very common, and people, rather than trying to work through the pain of this crisis, they'll retreat and cope with things like video games,
Yep.
alcohol, weed, things that are just going to compound your problem.
So we know structure, there is an importance to having a structure, but what if, and I'm just going to throw this out there.
Sure.
What if there is no structure in the home where they are saying, do this, do this, do this, and there's no expectation in the home, or there's no structure, but they still have expectations?
Yeah, that would be tougher, because if you, and again, I've seen this in my practice with clients. I've had a general example that can fit to many of these different people that I've seen over the last 30 years is I'll have a parents bring in like a 10-year-old, 11, 12, something like that.
Sure.
And I'll say, well, Johnny doesn't, he's failing in school. He's not doing his homework. He's disrespectful. He seems angry all the time. And I ask a couple of questions. First one is, what's Johnny's bedtime?
Simple.
It's a simple question.
Yeah.
And I'm not kidding, Matt. A majority of the parents say, whenever he gets tired.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, when you say whenever he gets tired, where is he in the evening times? Well, he's in his room. Typically he's watching TV or playing video games. And I said, and there's no limit to that. He can just, we go to bed. We don't really, check on him after that.
There's zero structure.
Yeah. But so you can see how this can start early, especially if you have no structure, that you're already in that pattern of coping and using external things to kind of soothe yourself, so you don't have to worry about things. And again, Johnny's not doing good in school because he doesn't want to do homework, so he'd rather play video games.
And he's not sleeping until 2, 3 o'clock.
But here's the thing that happens is that this kid now becomes self-conscious because I'm an idiot. I'm stupid. I'm failing school. Yeah. They're not happy.
Nope.
And the problem is because they could be happy if they could just follow the structure that's laid out.
Domino after domino after domino.
Yep. So, and a lot of this is, again, this expectation that I'm free when I become adult, when it's totally the opposite. So, I mean, so you get to be an adult and you're like, okay, I got to get up and work out in the morning. And then I got to go to school. And then I have to do homework. And then I have to make some dinner. And then I have to, I have to do my doctor appointments tomorrow. And, I have to drive to a different place for class on Thursday. And all of these things that they're not used to doing because they've used to just dicking around all the time.
Yeah.
It just overwhelms them. And the reaction from most people, this isn't what I thought life was supposed to be. This isn't what I expected.
Oh, now I have to get a job to pay for driving to said class, for having my meals, because mom and dad aren't footing the bill anymore. So I got to work a part-time, full-time job into all of this new stuff that I get to do as an adult because I'm an adult now. I'm free.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
you're not.
And it's weird because as we grow older, we sometimes will feel more restricted because as you get older, again, you have responsibilities still. Typically you'll have kids at that point. Now you have to worry about kids and raising kids and paying for college. And then you have to worry about retirement and do I have enough money saved? There's never a time where you're going to arrive.
Right. It's not cyclical. It's ongoing.
No, it's ongoing. And that's the thing that can be overwhelming to people, because if you said to a 10-year-old, you know what, Johnny, it just gets harder from here and it never gets any easier. I mean, even though that's the truth,
you can't do that.
That's not something you should be saying. So there are stages in with this basic problem. There are stages. So we're going to look at the first stage. The first stage is being locked in.
Okay.
So a lot of times when we're trying to figure out what we want to do or what we want out of life or what needs to happen, all of that, we look to other people for examples.
Sure.
So these people may have similar advice. They may have totally different advice, but they're telling you what you should do. And that is, it's still direction, but because you're getting all these different directions, you're not quite sure what to do and who's right. And if I should do this. So again, early on in life, you make decisions based on extrinsic motivation, which means if I do this, I get a reward or I get something for it. If Johnny cleans his room, he gets to get candy when we go to the store, or you get an hour of video game. So there's a reward attached to it.
It's the everybody wins syndrome.
I mean, it could be, but the point being is that if you just let it's extrinsic motivation. It's coming from the outside. It's coming from, you want something, so I have to do this to get it.
Got it.
But what happens is you can have this extrinsic motivation, but if it's not intrinsic, if it's not coming from inside, that's going to wear off
quickly.
Yes, it won't last. And you can say, oh yeah, I want to be motivated, but that doesn't make it happen. You have to build motivation from the inside. For example, people go to work, they go to work to get a paycheck. That's their extrinsic motivation. Some people go to work because they like to go to work. They are getting paid. They wouldn't do it for free. But my point is, they're motivated because they get a personal reward from that, as well as the financial.
I love the phrase, they work like they don't have to.
Yes.
Because they enjoy what they do.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I know that may sound even ridiculous,
but it's the God honest truth.
But it happens out there. I do a job that I like. I don't feel like I go to work every day. I don't wake up and think, 8 hours till I can be done with this. I don't think that way. And many people don't. I will say, again, based on studies and anecdotal experiences of my own, most people don't think that way. No. Most people dread getting up. They don't want to go to work. It's just being stuck in the rat race, to bring up an old man term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What in blazes are you talking about?
Now, this is really interesting. The quarter life crisis. There is a lot to it. There is something to be said about it. And I'm interested in learning more.
We are going to learn more, and we're going to continue with quarter life crisis part 2 coming up in the next episode.
Not midlife crisis.
Not midlife crisis. Quarter life crisis. And then maybe we'll do one later on midlife crisis. We can add that to it. That'll work. So before we leave, let me, and those of you on Facebook Live, stick around. We're going to be doing another episode. Those of you listening to audio, jump ahead one episode or wait till the next Tuesday or Thursday.
Yeah.
You'll see the next one drop. Before we go, somebody needs a home. Hershey.
Oh,
Hershey needs a home.
Let me get the life side. Let me get the big version. Aw, look
at that.
Come on.
Look at that face.
Actually, if you move it just a little bit, you look like he's talking in the microphone.
Oh,
the other way. Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Oh, right here. There he's talking in the microphone.
Got it.
There we go.
Hershey. What is Hershey? Is a cockapoo.
Hershey's cockapoo. He's male. He's 20 pounds. He was born in 2022. So
2 years
old. Couple years old.
Yeah.
Dog friendly, yes. Kid friendly, yes. Cat unknown.
It's a small dog. It probably isn't very. It probably gets too excited.
It's 20 pounds.
Yeah.
But look at that. Look at that face.
Aw.
He needs a home. Hershey needs a home. Detroit Dog Rescue/adopt.
Please.
DetroitDogRescue.com/adopt.
Perfect.
So Hershey needs a home.
Hershey.
All righty, folks.
Cute puppy.
That is it for this episode. Again, we're going to be back talking about a quarter life crisis part 2 coming up in the next episode. In the meantime, change your thinking, change your life, laugh hard, run fast, be kind. We'll see you next time. In this episode of the Motor City Hypnotist podcast, we are back with part 2 of the quarter life crisis. We talked in episode 1, really kind of saying what a quarter life crisis is, why it exists, who's most susceptible. But we're going to talk now, and I'm going to go through some of that. We started last episode starting on stage 1, and I'm going to take you through the stages of this
Quarter life crisis.
Quarter life crisis. I was trying to think of a name for it. I was going to say this epidemic, but it could be. It could be an epidemic as far as mental health goes.
Goodness.
And in the meantime, we're giving away free stuff. Hang in there, folks. We'll be right back.
This sounds like something for the authorities in Detroit.
Well, joke's on you. I'm living to 102 and then dying, like the city of Detroit.
Guys like this antique over here out of Detroit.
Spawned in the hellfires of Motown.
Take him to Detroit.
No! No, not Detroit! No! No, please! Anything but that! No!
Stationed in Drambuie. It's worse than Detroit.
We did not have, as a unit, the confidence that we felt like we needed to beat Detroit.
Let's go to Detroit. Now you're talking, brother. I don't think so. He plays for Detroit now.
Do they have many farms in Detroit?
Detroit. It's in Michigan.
I go to school. I know where Detroit is.
Get ready for the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright, originating from the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. He has hypnotized thousands of people from all over the United States. David R. Wright has been featured on news outlets all across the country and is the clinical director of an outpatient mental health and hypnosis clinic located just south of Detroit, where he helps people daily using the power of hypnosis. Welcome, the Motor City Hypnotist, David R. Wright.
What is going on, my friends? It is David Wright, the Motor City Hypnotist. We're back with another episode of the Motor City Hypnotist podcast.
You are amazing to be here.
That is Matt Fox, the other voice you hear. He's across the table from me here in the Podcast Your Voice, palatial Southfield Studios.
Yep, here I am.
Hanging out on a Monday, doing a podcast, having a drink, and sharing some information that's hopefully beneficial to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are talking today about quarter life crisis is part 2. If you've not heard part 1, jump back an episode or just listen to this one and go back. You'll get all the information. So either way works.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get started, let me tell you where you can find me. My website is motorcityhypnotist.com. Check it out, especially if you're interested in a show. You can get a quote within minutes and never have to speak to anyone if that's your preference. If you prefer to speak to somebody, you can also do that. But yeah, check out the website. A lot of good stuff on there. My social media, Facebook and YouTube, are both Motor City Hypnotist, and Snapchat and Instagram are both Motor City Hypno. That's HYPNO.
Fantastic.
As we've done every episode going back, we're on episode 274, I believe.
Nice.
So every episode, we give away a free hypnosis guide for whoever wants it.
There are 274 free hypnosis guides,
which are all the same. But there, yeah, if you want to do it 274 times, have at it. Yeah, go for it.
The more you know.
So if you want the hypnosis guide, text the word hypnosis to 313-800-8510. That number will also be in the show notes as well. And big thing, wherever you're listening, whatever platform you're on, subscribe to the show. That's the first thing. Connect, subscribe, link, whatever it is on your platform.
Yeah.
And the big thing is leave a review because that helps us. Hopefully it's a good review. But if not, tell us what you really think. There we go.
Yeah.
So as far as subscribing, if you're listening on audio, you can always join us Monday evenings right around 8 o'clock, give or take a few minutes.
Sure.
Sometimes we'll start a minute or two early,
Yep.
or a little minute or two late, whatever. But we record live on Monday evenings. So join us on my Facebook, my Motor City Hypnotist Facebook page, where it is streamed live. You
Yeah.
can be part of the conversation. You can join in the episode, ask questions,
Right.
give comments.
Yeah.
It's a great way to interact with people who are listening. So yeah, join us on Facebook every Monday around 8.
Yes.
Awesome.
More the merrier.
That's it. It is time.
Is it?
That's how winning is done.
So this one comes from Great Britain.
Great Britain.
A pioneering Welsh running athlete has helped organize hundreds of community running events around the country and recently celebrated his 85th birthday.
He got better.
He got better. I'm not dead yet.
I'm not dead yet. I feel happy.
I don't want to ride on the cart.
I think I'll go for a walk.
Oh, great.
great Odin's raven.
Half the people out there are like, what are you
What the
talking
hell
about?
is going on?
Kendra would not know.
So 85 years
85 years old.
All right.
He celebrated his 85th birthday by racing his great-grandson, who takes part in running events.
Okay.
I intended on walking it, but when I got there with my great-grandson, I decided to run it, 85-year-old Eric Hughes told the BBC.
Mm-hmm.
My grandson beat me by 7 minutes.
Well, I'll put it in quotations. He was running.
Right. Some things never die, and Hughes' competitive spirit, which has seen him medal at 18 consecutive British Masters Championships at various distances, is certainly one of them.
That's amazing.
But as he ran through life's race, his drive to succeed has morphed into the drive to see others succeed.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the most prolific organizers and volunteers of Britain's Park Runs, a community running event that started originally as a simple club that ran a 5K in London 3 times a week.
Wow.
In 2004. It has exploded in popularity since then, and with 20 days until Park Run's 20th anniversary, there are now more than 1,200 park runs around the world, according to the BBC.
Wow.
Hundreds of thousands of park runners are processed, websites updated, and millions of emails sent each week, the official Park Run website states on its homepage. The Park Run community is growing all the time, but it's all still based on the simple, basic principles formed from the start. Free, weekly, for everyone, forever. Hughes helps organize the senior park run in Bridgend, Wales on Saturdays and the Sunday version for juniors in nearby Porthcawl. He has helped organize over 500 events since he became involved with the movement and told BBC he especially enjoys watching young children take part to highlight the natural ability they've got. I think eventually we'll have such good athletes in this country, and that's because of the park runs, Hughes added. He celebrated his 85th birthday with what else? A park run, in which his great-grandson joined in. While Hughes couldn't replicate the success he enjoyed throughout his life against another member of his family, his brother Lynn, another runner who actually broke the world 4-hour barrier for 40 miles on track.
Wow.
Eric Hughes publicized at the time, Lynn wasn't willing to deny Eric's claim that he was faster than his twin brother. Launched in Livonia, Michigan in 2012, the USA has 75 different park runs, which you can find on this map on the organization's website.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So I want to participate.
Yeah.
And I know the best way to do that.
Yeah, give me a to-do list.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I plan to follow joggers around in my car, blasting Eye of the Tiger for encouragement.
I don't know what we're yelling about.
That'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
Right.
That's a great to-do list.
See?
Yes. That's fantastic.
It fits into the runs.
It does. It fits right in.
Yeah.
So yes, to 85-year-old Eric Hughes, who's still running, good for him.
Yeah.
Winner of the week for sure.
That's how winning is done.
Yes, it is.
Sweet.
So, back to it.
So before we get into the next couple of stages
yes, absolutely.
quarter life crisis, I just want to preface this by another to-do list.
Please.
So
hit me.
I want to wear a shirt.
I can't hit your martini. Got you.
So I want to wear a t-shirt that says life on it and then hand out lemons on the street corner.
I ain't listening to you no more.
I just to prepare for the next few stages.
Well, yeah, because that might work well in a quarter life crisis.
Sure.
Get a lemon.
Yeah. What do you do with it? You make lemonade. Come on.
Unless you watched Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh, yeah. Well, spoilers.
Just saying.
Wow.
Just throwing it out there.
That is quite the monologue in Fall of the House of Usher.
Only then do you make some fucking lemonade. That's the end of the monologue.
Yeah.
So
only then. That good, nice call out.
Yes,
I like that.
Absolutely. So today we're talking about quarter life crisis. And again, like I said, if you haven't heard part 1, you can jump back or catch up with that after this one. But we're talking about, again, this crisis that young people are having, finding themselves. And I know that sounds a very blah, cliche type of statement, but this is really something that warranted a study, and the study was completed. So it is apparently something that is affecting a lot of young people.
Mm-hmm.
So we started talking about stage 1, and that stage 1 is called locked in. All right. And that's when we get locked into this feeling or the external situations that you've been driven to. Like, oh, you're going to college, so you're locked in. You're going to be a doctor, so you're locked into that. You're whatever it is, whatever demands are placed on you, and you're kind of locked into that, and you feel like there's no way out because it's because people are told when they're young, oh, you'd be really good at this.
Yeah, all the time.
You should be I don't know. You should be a hairdresser. You'd be really good at this. You should be a mechanic. You'd be really good at this. So kids are given advice and they're given direction. And a lot of times it just becomes overwhelming for them because they don't know what they want to do.
Right.
And in fact, most people in their team, I mean, I'll give you an example of one time that I know. And again, I've worked with thousands, if not tens of thousands of clients over the years. So I have a twin brother. You probably knew that, Matt. From when we were young kids, I'm talking from the time we could talk, 5, 6, 7, he always wanted to be a cop. Always.
Yeah.
From that age. He went to high school, went to the police academy, became a cop, worked as a cop for his entire life until he just retired last year.
Never looked back, did he?
And loved it. Loved what he did. So again, that's rare though.
Very rare.
That's a big exception.
My oldest daughter is of that same persuasion. She wanted to be an accountant in kindergarten, and she got her accounting degree in college, and now she is an auditor for a major financial institution. So she same thing.
Yeah.
Accounting.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Right. So what happens is when we follow these extrinsic factors, which we started to talk about last episode, these extrinsic motivations, like what am I getting from this? Like as far as, okay, what kind of money am I going to make? What kind of feedback am I getting from outside myself? And what happens is we follow these, and then we wake up one day and find that we don't like these things. We don't like what we're doing.
We're not fulfilled.
We're not fulfilled. Sometimes it's like a relationship that you may have in high school that you're in for a long time, but then as you get older, you realize, do I really want this?
Yeah.
Is this really something? Because it's just been there, you're just assuming it's always going to be there.
Right.
But it's not really a choice at that point because it's been preset years ago.
Yeah, that
makes sense.
It does. You don't hear the term high school sweethearts very much anymore.
Right. So it's almost like you're living your life on autopilot. You're just following where you're told to go, what to do, and there's no intrinsic investment in what you're doing. It's all comes from the outside. So think about people who have gone to school or maybe training, maybe even like trade school.
Okay.
But have gone to do something, started working, and 2-3 years into it, they think, I hate this. The problem is they don't change it because they think, I'm 25 years old. I can't just stop and do something new. I've invested all of this time and effort. This is what I'm stuck with. And change doesn't happen. And they remain doing the thing they're doing that they're not happy with. And at that point, the perception is, I'm stuck doing this until I'm 65 years old.
Right. But I'll go back, and you've mentioned this a few times, your own father.
Yeah. Yes, you're right, Matt. That again, that's an exception.
It's an exception.
And maybe I have a family of exceptions. I don't know. But my dad was a blue collar worker. Well, I wouldn't say blue collar. He did office work at a steel mill.
Yes.
And was there for, a good 25 years.
Yeah.
Before he got let go because he was over 50.
But
that wouldn't happen now.
No.
But even at the age of 50, but see, here's the difference in that, Matt. He was forced out of it. So in a way, I can say that's still extrinsically derived. It came from the outside.
That's fair. But still, for him to make a major change.
For him to go back to school, get his nursing license, and work as a nurse for the rest of his life. Yes, that was definitely. But he was the first step he was forced into.
Right.
And I will say, and this is a great example of what we're going to get to. He went through a crisis. His was more, again, We can just change the age range there, but he went through a crisis that he didn't choose, that probably he thought this is the end. I don't have a job.
I know how he felt. Yeah.
Yes. And you know that, Matt. Yeah. But he ended up moving on from that and making something that he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So again, that is an exception, I feel like.
So these crises, this epidemic that we're talking about, it can happen at any point in life. It just seems to be more prevalent because it seems to be happening sooner.
Yes. And that is the big thing. That is happening at a younger age. And there are a lot of things that could have contributed to that, but we'll get to that in a minute. But, but what happens in this phase 1 when you're locked in, you just accept the role you're given, and there's no authentic sense of self, or really analyzing what it is that makes you happy.
Sure. What
could you do in life as a job that you would enjoy?
I know the word job, J-O-B. I'm really trying to get, the younger generation who I'm around it's not about a job, it's about a career. Like, what do you want to do for a career? Because a job is making pizzas or flipping burgers, right? A career is something you put your heart and soul into, and you feel good about doing it. And that's where as a parent, I'm trying to drive, that into the younger generation, so they don't have this quarter life crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's what happens when we're stuck in this locked in stage where you feel like there's no future, there's no option, there's you just don't know what to do. What happens, and this is again, people regress or retreat is the better word, into self-soothing behaviors, video games, alcohol, weed, those things that kind of numb this feeling of just being rudderless or directionless.
Quaaludes, yeah.
Well, I mean, and it could get more serious than that, for sure. And really, in these things, as far as alcohol use and video games are typically male related in general. That's just the population who gravitates towards those things as far as coping with their lives. So again, compulsive activities start coming out: alcohol, drugs, pornography, video games, isolation, staying in your room, not going out, not seeing people. And this happens because the person feels so overwhelmed that they don't want to deal. They don't want to have to go through this crisis, so it's easier to retreat. So stage 2, actually stage 2A, it's separation. And that's when we physically or mentally check out and just say, I can't do this anymore. And it's almost like, again, this self-defeating thing where I've invested 11 years. This is not what I want to do. I'm just going to mentally and physically check out. And that would be like, whether intentionally or unintentionally getting fired from a job or quitting school or just, again, retreating into isolation.
Can I play devil's advocate real quick?
Sure.
So you said after 11 years, this isn't what I want to do. It's not working out. Is that because they're used to having things done for them or given to them, or everybody wins syndrome?
I mean, that could play into it. I think in general, I think the biggest part is they're living a life that they didn't choose.
Okay.
I know that sounds dramatic, but in a way, that's what it kind of is.
Yeah, they didn't choose it, but then if they didn't choose it, then they have been given things over and over again.
Right.
I'm just trying to walk that fine line.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I'm walking that fine line, but they're used to having things done for them, or it will happen, or they're told it will happen, and it's not happening fast enough. So like, it's just not what I want to do. So they separate.
Right.
Because it's not being done for them.
But in the other problem with that is that once you separate, it's like, well, what do we do now? But when you're defeated at that point, when you feel like this is not what I want to do, and then you separate, sometimes you get stuck there because there's no intrinsic motivation to do anything else.
Yeah,
that's why. And again, you'll when I say this, you'll know as soon as I say it, Matt. The percentage of adults living with their parents now is higher than it's ever been. And this is part of it.
I agree. I 100% agree with that.
Yep. That they can't do it. So they just retreat back to a place where they feel semi-safe.
Yeah. I can see that. And it's, I have a few friends that unfortunately are in that predicament, but it's not holding them back from doing what they love. They're just in a point in their lives where they had to adjust or pivot for lack of a better term until they can right the ship.
Yes. Right.
So it may be that separation. They go back to somewhere that's comfortable and that's familiar to them.
Sure. It's more safe place.
It's safe.
Yeah.
And they know that they have that support. And that's a great support system to have, but you don't want to take advantage of that.
Well, for those people that have that, because a lot of people don't have that.
Right.
Right. But here's the big thing, this separation stage, while we look at that and think, oh, again, just to throw out a generic example, you're in school, you're majoring in whatever. You're majoring in psychology.
I was gonna say major in philosophy.
Yeah. And what happens
so
there?
Another thing on the to-do list is, if you're having issues, just major in philosophy, then ask people why they want fries with that.
Oh, great Odin's raven. What happened?
Yeah. That's a good one. That's good. Yeah. So here's the thing. When we talk about the separation, people would look at that when I say it, they might think, oh, that's bad. But here's the thing. This is a necessary step. This has to happen to get through this quarter life crisis. There has to be some realization that this isn't working. Something has to change.
It's a very brave decision to make. And I don't want to take anything away from that, because to make that choice, it's very brave. And you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what the future is going to be.
Right.
But to make that choice, it's a very brave choice to look inside yourself intrinsically and say, this is not what I want to do. And then make that change and commit.
But see, that's the problem. Because it's easy to say, this is not what I want to do. Most people can do that. Most people are unable to take that step to say, what do I want to do? How do I get to where I want to be? Because most people don't know where they want to be.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And it's very brave to actually do it. So you have to have that courage.
Well, and again, I go back and I say, this stage, the separation stage, it's not a problem to fix. It's a phase that you have to go through to get where eventually you want to be.
Got it.
That is the big thing.
Now I'm on the same page.
And this phase is really the most intensive period emotionally and mentally that you're going to go through, because at that point, it's a crisis of emotions. I'm a failure. I flunked out of school. I have no future. My friends are all have jobs. My friends all graduated. I'm still living at home. I have friends who are married.
Right. Having kids.
And it almost, for a lot of these young people, it feels like they're left behind, and they internalize that as failure.
Right. Because they see friends out there succeeding, having kids, being successful in marriage, successful in their job. They got that freeness about them, and they're all doing what they want to do. And they're like, well, what about me?
Well, and this is what I would say to a client. If a client came into me and said, all my friends they're all moving on with their careers, and they're all working, and they, some of them have a wife and family or whatever. And I say, well, yeah, you're looking at that. You're looking at that from the outside, but you don't know what they're going through, or what they did go through, or what they will go through.
Right.
So, for example, sometimes unexpected things come up. Ask any female who's gotten pregnant in high school. Ask them how their life, they were forced to change their plans in life. Think about that upheaval.
Yeah.
One day you're a junior in high school working on your algebra homework. Less than a year later, you're a mother.
As a senior in high school, or maybe a junior in high school, because you had to repeat the grade.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, but these things, these external things can throw you off track. But a lot of this isn't that. It's not that overt. It's not that significant. Let's say.
Sure.
So really, once you get into the separation stage, and you're in the stage where I'm just so burnt out, I don't know what to go. I'm not motivated to do anything. I don't even want to look for a job. I just feel defeated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stay separated, sit in my room, drink, watch TV, and play video games
Mm-hmm.
and not talk to anybody. Here's the other thing that happens. They pull back socially as well.
Mm-hmm.
Friends will text them. They'll be like, I don't want, I can't respond right now.
They don't even respond.
No.
I'm okay. So I'm having a heck of a time with a personal friend that has done the exact, just that exact thing.
Yep.
Pulled back socially.
Yep.
Actually, I was able to speak with them recently, and you could just hear it in their voice. They are they're so defeated.
Yep.
And I tell them, you're in my heart. You're in my mind. I'm here for you. And that's all I can do aside from going over and shaking them to bring them out of whatever funk that they feel that they're in, And,
and here's the hard part from either friends or family or parents. We all want to help the person that's in this state.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing though, there's nothing you can do to help them.
There isn't.
They have to go through this to get on to the other side.
Then the next question would be, well, how long should this phase last?
Yeah. And see, that's a very subjective question because it depends on the person. It depends on what's changed or what. And sometimes this, I will say that in general, just based on the study was done from ages like 18 to 25.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, I finished when I went to school, I went right out of high school. But again, I went to school not knowing what I was doing, what I wanted to do. I had no idea.
You stayed the course.
I stayed the course. I finished school, but then I had a year, I think a 2-year gap in between undergrad and grad school.
Okay.
At that point, I'm like, okay, I have this bachelor's degree that I can't do anything with because you can't do anything with a bachelor's in psych. You have to have additional schooling to work in that field. So I meandered around for 2 years and in working minimum wage jobs. And, I moved out to a crappy apartment that was cheap and but you struggled to survive.
But you still moved out and struggled to survive,
But that was some tough years.
Yeah.
And many, and again, I can say my mindset during that time was, I have nothing. There's nothing to look forward to. I can't see my life in 10 years. I have no idea where it's going to be.
And everyone has that thought.
Yeah. But then we come back around to this self-perpetuating or self-fulfilling guilt, because now you feel guilty that you're not doing shit. But that just adds on to your lack of motivation.
Right.
So it's this vicious cycle that we get stuck in, is that I'm not motivated to do this. How do I get there? What do I do?
Right.
And again, you're going to feel ashamed. You're going to feel guilty. You're not going to have that motivation to put forth effort to make a change.
Yeah.
Until you get through this stage.
Right. You know what you should do, Dave?
Yeah. Give me another one, Matt.
You know what you should do?
What?
You should change your name to Simon and then speak in the third person.
Great heavens! What kind of radio show is this?
Simon says, shut your mouth.
Now you know my name is Simon.
Yeah. So folks, we're going to finish up. Actually, we're going to extend this to another episode because we're only in stage 2 here. And I got a lot of more things to share with you on this topic.
How many stages are there? 5, 6?
Let me look ahead.
I'm just curious because this is pretty in-depth quarter life crises.
4.
Yeah. Okay, so we got halfway, just about halfway.
So we're about halfway through.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's a lot of information, and I really want you to be able to dig in.
Well, yeah, and I really want to tap into those who might be feeling this, because emotionally and mentally they feel they have no options.
Sure.
And that's typically when you pair this with the pressures and the fear or the feeling of failure. Then we get into like suicidal thoughts and not wanting to be around anymore. And then we get into a very dangerous area, which again, I want to walk you through this and let you know that as tough as this is to go through, there's hope on the other side.
Yeah.
And that if you just give yourself some grace to get through this, you will get there.
That word. I've
Mhm.
heard that word with my new position.
Yep.
Give yourself grace. You don't know what you don't know. You
But-
have to be able to give that
But
grace.
again, but here's the devil's side of it.
Yeah.
If you say that to somebody who's in this,
Well,
they'll be like, that's not going to happen.
No.
It's so easy for them to discount anything positive or possibly positive.
Yeah.
And that's the struggle that they have in this.
Oh, goodness.
All right, folks, we're going to be back with Quarter Life Crisis Part 3, maybe 3 and we might do 3 and 4, depending on how it pans out. But come back. I want to get through this because I think it's going to be super helpful for those of you who are dealing with this, or maybe you have friends or kids who are dealing with this.
Yes.
Which would definitely help, because I know parents will say, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
And we can answer that. So we will do that next episode when we do Quarter Life Crisis Part 3.
Okay.
In the meantime, folks, change your thinking, change your life, laugh hard, run fast, be kind. We'll see you next time.